Hey, John, long time no see.
Right. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. You and I talked at what, 12 to 1?
Yeah.
I did some stuff, computer stuff from 1 to 2, went right to sleep and woke up 5 minutes ago.
So I'm basically the person that you see all day today.
All day.
I hope I'm not a disappointment.
Today's Ted Day. And you know, Ted, sometimes when we're waiting for the 10-minute countdown to finish, I go on what is literally my favorite website on the internet, and that is findagrave.com. I use Find a Grave a lot to help guide the research in my book, right? To decide who to put in the book. And I know most of the people who are important enough to be on Find a Grave as a famous person. Well, there's one who's listed as having her death date today that I think people would be interested in. It's Greta Zimmer Freedman. And all it says is pop culture icon. Okay, who the heck is Greta Zimmer Freedman? And she's buried here at Arlington Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. Well, get this. It says she and her sisters were among the last Jews to make it out of Austria when the Nazis were in the process of ending immigration. She made it out to the United States. She was, 12 years old when she got the visa. She was 15 years old when she finally settled with her family in New York City, got a job as a dental assistant. On August 14th, 1945, she was working for dentists J.D. and J.L. Burke on Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. There were rumors that the war was going to end that day. And since she wasn't far from Times Square, she thought about walking over to see for herself if the rumors were true. When she got there, she was suddenly grabbed by a sailor.
Hashtag me too.
Kissed exuberantly and just as suddenly left. She had no idea that an Associated Press photographer took a picture of the sailor, like on her, kissing her, but it became that iconic image of
Times Square on VJ
Day.
On VJ Day, Victory of Japan Day. That's amazing. Front page of Life magazine and everywhere else.
So interesting. It says here, front page
of pop culture icon.
She is, and it was on the front page of Life magazine. And in fact, later on, 20 years later, Life magazine called it the most iconic cover it had ever had in the history of Life magazine. She was misidentified for years as the VJ Day nurse. She wasn't a nurse. She was a dental assistant. But anyway,
it's kind of a similar, copy of the picture. Error. She was wearing an all-white uniform.
That's right, with the hat and everything. She brought a picture of a copy of the picture to Albert Eisenstadt, who took the picture, and she said, "I need for you to acknowledge that this is me, because nobody believes me when I say it was me." And he said, "I recognize you. That was definitely you." And then she said in an interview later, "It was kind of fun to be world famous even for a moment because it was totally accidental. Fame for just being there." And it says here she died on this date, September 8th, 2016 in Richmond, Virginia at the age of 92. And she was cremated and her ashes interred at Arlington Cemetery with her husband, Misha Elliott Freedman.
That's very cool. Although I still think she should have been buried at Times Square in a mausoleum, as far as I'm concerned.
She probably should have been. But this is why I write these cemetery books. I mean, the stories that people have are just fascinating to me. I love it.
Amazing. Well, nothing we're going to talk about today is probably going to rise quite to that level. But let's see what we can do. The government of France has collapsed. The Supreme Court has handed Trump another victory in his battle against immigration. However, he got hosed in a federal appeals court. He still has to pay Jean Carroll $83 million. There's that Jerusalem bus stop attack. We'll talk about the implications there. Trump's pushing school prayer. Dying to hear what you think about that. But first, there was the breaking news is that the House Oversight Committee has collected some Epstein documents.
Yeah.
House Democrats are starting to release some of those documents. And most notably, they released this. So this is, of course, Epstein was born in 1953. And in 2003, for the occasion of his 50th birthday, his friends put together, maybe Ghislaine did this, I would imagine, put together a birthday book. And they were asked to do a page in honor of Jeffrey. And they did this. And Donald Trump allegedly did this. And I'll get into the allegedly. I don't know. I mean, I learned this from my case, my lawsuit, that there's a big difference. You can't trust a Xerox copy as being authentic, but I'm wondering who has the original. It certainly looks like Donald Trump's signature. And I'm going to say,
it does.
One who used to be a banker and had to look at handwriting analysis, it certainly looks, and who also is an artist, I'm going to say whoever signed that also probably drew that too. Yeah. If you just look at the quality of the line. But it is fascinating to see the content of this thing. We were talking about this before we went on the air with producer Robbie about how, what does it all mean, right? Yeah. So I'm going to read it for people who can't read it. It says, it's a picture of a woman's torso. It says, voiceover, there must be more to life than having everything. Donald, it's all like a script. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret.
I would not call that a Democrat hoax. I would say that Donald Trump has to grab this thing by the horns. Weeks ago, Ted, you and I were talking about this. And I said that there was a guy, Bloomingdale, I forget his first name, but he was Ronald Reagan's best friend, and he was part of the Reagan kitchen cabinet. And he died. He died on top of his girlfriend, who was 50 years younger than he was. And so
there are worse ways to go.
Indeed. But I mean, if you're Mrs. Bloomingdale,
awkward.
This is going to be a problem. So later on in the Washington Post, there was an article saying that journalists had spoken to these White House insiders, that the knee-jerk reaction was going to be that Reagan would deny ever being close to Bloomingdale. He was just a guy, yeah, sure, he was in some of these meetings, but we weren't really close. It was just one of those things. And then somebody said, wait a minute. If we lie and say that you weren't close, that's going to be the story. And so what they ended up doing is they released a statement under Reagan's signature saying, Bloomingdale was one of my best friends. He was a loyal friend for many years. We were close. We, did this together. We did that together. Our wives were close. The circumstances of his passing are unfortunate, but that's something between him and his God. And people are like, you know what? That was the perfect response. Yeah. Good for Ronald Reagan. It's exactly the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing right now with this Jeffrey Epstein thing. Just come clean. Say, look, I was friendly with Epstein. I didn't know he was a pedophile. And when I found out he was a pedophile, I cut off all contact and I banned him from Mar-a-Lago. So yeah, right. Okay. I sent this silly, whatever this is, birthday card, but we were friends at the time. After that, we weren't friends. Just be honest about it. Calling it a Democrat hoax just makes him look stupid, and it makes him look like he's covering up.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of these things. Could we go to court and say that he definitely drew and wrote that? No. I mean, even if we had the analysis of the pen, of the ink that was used, we have access to the original, we still couldn't prove it. But you and I both know he wrote that, and we both know he drew that, right? I mean, there's no question. And so, I mean, look, Houdini, thank you very much for the generous donation.
Thank you.
the Houdini said doesn't sound like Trump. I got to agree with that. I mean, as far as we know, it doesn't sound like anything Trump would say or write. I will argue about the pen. It looks like the signature was done with a cheap pen. The Don only used Mont Blanc, top of the line pens. No, he uses El Marcos, and he uses.
We've seen him use Sharpies.
Yeah, this right here is what he's been. Yeah, he's using Sharpies. Yeah, here we go. This is what he uses. So, so that's a Sharpie. Believe me, I know my pens. I mean, I think he signed it. He likes the Sharpie because it's fat. The Mont Blanc wouldn't make a big thick line like that, no matter what. I have one, so I'm just telling you, I know. And so I think that the question here is, who wrote it? Did he have someone else write it? I took note of the fact that it was laid out in the shape of a woman's torso on purpose, right? So someone laid it out. This was probably done by computer because it was 2003, but it looks almost typeset. It's meant to look like an old book.
Right.
Now, of course, obviously the question is, and now I thought this was interesting. I think very clearly this is the work of someone who is trying to put on airs. The question is it as a joke? Like, look, I'm going to pretend to be snooty. Or are you really trying to pass yourself off as fancier than you are? And of course, the big question is, what's your little secret that you and Jeffrey have in common, Donald? And I mean, look, it could be anything. I mean, I'm not going to name the thing that comes to mind. It could be that we know the thing that comes to mind, but it could be financial. It could be about something really innocuous, like you both love chess or whatever, but they've got a little secret.
Just come clean with it and then move on. I just don't understand these responses at all. I just don't get it.
Well, it's like, it's always deny, right? Like
always.
But the problem is that it's not credible. And then you get the drip, 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 which was always the mistake. Anyway, I'm looking forward to more. It also strikes me as like, these are little children. These are like little boys, little boys with their billions of dollars, just so pleased with themselves.
It's true, man. Oh my God. And Bill Clinton has to be enjoying this too, because so long as people like us or anybody in media are talking about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, that means they're not talking about Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's true. All right. Well, in somewhat more serious news, the government of France has collapsed. So,
which you predicted. You predicted it a couple of days ago, Friday or Thursday. Yeah.
No, I mean, and I think I called it pretty much as soon as François Bayrou was appointed prime minister. So basically, France is looking increasingly like Italy in the 70s, where their governments are collapsing. It's been 2 years. This is government number 5 on the way out in 2 years, right? So Bayrou is a center. They call him a centrist. Fine, fair enough. I would call him a center right guy, but hell, I'm a commie. So the point is, basically, but this is really important, right? So basically, where do we even start with this? So the president of France, right, Macron, he has to now appoint. He doesn't have to call an election. He has to appoint someone who can form a government. The pickle for him is who's going to do it. I mean, so Marine Le Pen says that her protege, the young guy, he's ready to step up and do it. There is no fucking way in the world that President Macron is going to let that happen.
No.
Then over on the far left, the Left Alliance says, well, we're ready to govern. Jean-Luc Mélenchon is like, I'm right here. And again, there's no fucking way Emmanuel Macron is going to let that happen either.
Yep.
So which leaves him with the usual passel of boring corporatist banker centrists. But those guys, they all know they're doomed because they can't govern, because the same thing is going to happen to them. Not to mention there's only 2 years left on Macron's term, and he's term limited out. And so he has nowhere to turn. And that's this really does make it, John, a political crisis on par with 1958. And people don't know this story because it's pretty obscure. My mom was living in Paris in 1958. And and basically the Fourth Republic's last government just couldn't form a government. And there was a crisis also simultaneously going on with France's war in Algeria, which wasn't going well at the same time. And so while all this was happening, nobody knew what was going to happen. Well, one fine day, my mom told me, and I've read the story elsewhere, the newspapers didn't appear at the corner newsstand. And when you went to turn on the television, there was just La Marseillaise playing on a loop with the French flag. And when you put on the radio, there was just the Marseillaise playing on a loop.
This is right out of a Soviet premiership death.
Correct. Or out of a third world coup.
Yes.
So 3 days went by, and 1958. There must have been 20 daily newspapers in Paris in 1958. 3 days go by, people are just like wondering what the hell is going on, and after 3 days, the TV comes back on, and self-appointed new President Charles de Gaulle announces that he's going to create the Fifth Republic, call for a new constitutional convention, and solve the crisis basically by kind of force of personality. So it was a coup. France had a coup in 1958. And he basically aligned all the powers that be behind the scenes, turned off the media, and then we're not going to see
the media.
Basically, he turned off the media.
It's incredible.
But you can't do that now. But Macron's not really in a very different situation than they were in there in the late 50s. I don't know where he goes from here. And the thing is, this is a big deal because it's about literally the what kind of country France wants to be. I mean, France, unlike the United States, has always defined itself as a country that's based on rights and privileges from being a citizen. Being a citizen means, like the American Express card commercial, membership has its privileges. You're a French citizen. You can retire a decent lifestyle at the age of 62 and go all the way to your death and never be sleeping outside or dumpster diving.
Yeah, that's right.
Your kids can go to college basically for free. You're never going to be you're never going to incur massive medical debt or student loan debt. You're protected. And Macronisme is about the opposite of that. It's about trying to Americanize things and basically point to the national debt and say, we need austerity. And both the far left, predictably, and the far right, a little bit less predictably, are aligned against austerity, against the center corporatists, represented by Macron. Macron's at 15% approval rating right now. He and Eric Adams should be friends. Yeah. They should hang out. They've got the same polls. So this is a big deal. I mean, France is, along with Germany, one of the two founding members of the EU. It's a permanent member of the Security Council. It is an important country, and they don't know what to do. And what's funny is, I don't even know, is the debt really that bad? Or is this just all in their minds? I don't know the answer.
I have a question for you too, Ted, and maybe you've answered this before and I don't recall. Well, it's kind of a two-part question. Number one, why is Marine Le Pen not permitted to run, even though she inherited this party from her father? It's essentially their family party. Number two, would you attribute the popularity of the far right to the fact that Macron has tried to squelch them, or is this some sort of a reaction against immigration or against the growing number of Muslims in France?
Well, I'll start with the last one first. I think look, immigration's front and center here. But Le Pen, when you hear that, when people hear that she's not allowed to run, they assume it's like her father who got busted for basically Holocaust revisionism and Holocaust denialism.
Right.
And that's illegal in France under French law. You're just not allowed to say that the Holocaust didn't happen or question the narrative. But with Marine Le Pen, it's about embezzlement. And it's a little bit like the lawfare that was waged. Yeah. So basically, a court found that Paris found that both Marine Le Pen and other members of her party, which is the National Rally, misused EU funds, because basically the EU provides matching funds for running for EU office. And instead of using it to campaign and for the things that they're supposed to use it for, they used it to pay staff. So she was sentenced to a 5-year ban on holding any public office, and she faces 2 years in prison, 4-year prison term total. She's appealing currently, and she had to pay. I don't know if she's actually paid it or not. 100,000 euros. So she's got Jordan Bardella is her like protege, and it's. By the way, that relationship feels a little bit like Ayn Rand and her predilection for younger dudes. I don't know if there's anything sexual there at all, but it kind of looks like it. But, who knows? It's France. Anything's possible. But, yeah, that's why she can't run. She can't run this time. She can't run in 2027. She could run next time. But, that's going to be 5 years later. Right.
I get it.
So it is super, super interesting. Thank you, Matthew Blair Rains, for the donation. What do we think of the Franc-Afrique? Has it actually delivered any benefits to France, or is it just a way for them? I'm going to answer the question. I think it's watered down neocolonialism.
Yeah,
that's it.
See, I know a small fraction of what you know about France, and I would say that's 100% it.
You've got Greece well covered. So, and many other countries. So I think we're going to, but basically this is about the French are deciding, what do they want to be? And there's definitely a move towards austerity. Like, we can't keep spending this way. I mean, you could also argue that maybe the French wouldn't be in so much trouble if they weren't promising, for example, to help the Ukrainians out, or if they weren't also, doing without Russian oil and gas.
Yes.
They would, that hurt their economy.
Yes,
But France has structural problems anyway. They have a very, very low birth rate, even worse than ours. And they've been suffering with that shit for a century or more. I mean, basically, they never recovered from World War I in that respect.
Oh, my God. Greece is in the same predicament where it has the largest population decline on a percentage basis in all of Europe, not just the European Union, but in all of Europe. And it started decades ago, of course, but it accelerated during the economic collapse. And I read an editorial in one of the Greek papers the other day, and it was talking about where educated Greeks are going. They're going to the United States, to the UK, to Germany, to Australia. But it says when 1,500 educated Greeks, people with master's degrees, law degrees, MDs, PhDs, when 1,500 of them move to Turkey for more opportunity, you're screwed.
That is very, very, that's funny and sad.
Terrible. Well, good luck to the French. I hope they can pull through this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, their big mistake, I think, was, it's the French get into trouble whenever they trust a single man. They trusted Philippe Pétain in 1940. Like, don't worry, I got you. I'll take care of this. I'll be your shield. That didn't work out well. It didn't work out well in 58 when they trusted de Gaulle, or in 68 when they trusted de Gaulle. The French are better off with like a more, hedging their bets. They trusted Macron. I mean, they basically they put him in. He was a kid, and they gave him a parliament of all of his own. And like basically, he didn't know what to do, and he didn't do shit with it.
Yeah, he blew it. Crazy.
So well, this is one of those like we'll just have to watch and see what happens next. By American standards,
I feel. Like 10 years ago, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, the Greek prime minister's 10 years younger than I am." It's like, what am I doing wrong? I must be a bum or something.
Well, hey, the way things are looking, you might get the nod for the French prime minister job. No one wants it, right? No one in the center, on the center right wants it. they know they're going to look like a fool.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And the thing is, the French care much more than Americans do about their dignity. It's part of their culture. All right, what do we want to talk about next? You want to do Jean Carroll? You want to?
Yeah, let's do Jean Carroll. That should be an easy one.
Easy.
I deep respect for Jean Carroll. She has so much. I was going to say she has balls of steel, but that doesn't make any sense. She has so much inner fortitude that she stuck this out. She continued her suit. The political tide turned against her. She didn't care. She kept suing. And today she won. What was it, Ted? $83.5 million, I think, or $85.3 million.
83, yeah, but who's counting?
Right. And today was a day that was very good for Donald Trump in the federal courts, especially in the Supreme Court. He won pretty much everything except that. And that was a personal slight against him. Yeah. So good for Jean Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been pretty humiliating. Although I do kind of have a problem with the idea that, Donald Trump had this alleged incident back in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so
how do you defend yourself?
30 years ago, right? And how does he say, like, okay, so by all accounts, they hooked up and went into the dressing room at what was it, at Lord and Taylor's?
Lord and Taylor. Yeah.
And so she said, and basically they had sex. The question is, did they, was it consensual or not?
Right.
I mean, how does Donald Trump defend himself from that? I don't know.
You can't defend yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. I was asked in the chat here whether I draw my own cartoons. I'm like, look, if I were going to hire someone to draw cartoons for me, they'd look a lot better than the ones I do. So. Here, let me answer that question with some visual evidence here. Like that's this week's cartoons. Drawn by black and white, and then scan them in and do them in color. So,
hey, can I answer some comments from both Houdini and Starline? They're talking about real estate in Greece. I am absolutely friggin' obsessed with real estate in Greece, and I use this app every single day. It's called Spitogatos. It means house cat.
Cute.
Because I fully intend to buy real estate in Athens. Here's the problem. The prices of real estate were going like a rocket straight up because, as they point out quite correctly, you invest 200,000 euros or 250,000 euros and you get a golden visa, right? So Athens real estate was being bought up, like all of it, by Russians, Chinese, and Israelis. Not because they want to live in Athens, but because just in case things turned to shit and they needed to run somewhere, that's a pretty nice place.
Plan B.
What happened was, since they're not living there, they turn all those units into Airbnbs. I can't even tell you the last time I stayed in a hotel in Athens. I always stay in Airbnbs. So, the result of that was that there's now no residential real estate available for rent, right? All of the empty apartments are now Airbnbs, and they're all owned by foreigners. So the government passed a law a couple of weeks ago, no more Airbnbs. The ones that are Airbnb now, okay. No new real estate can be converted into Airbnbs inside the city of Athens. And prices now have fallen like a stone. I've been looking at this one condo. It's on the 8th floor of a building. And the view of the Parthenon is like a punch in your face. It's like right there in front of you, right? Wow. Exactly the kind of place that I want. It went up to 600,000 euros and it's back down to 250,000 euros. Like a roller coaster.
So now's the time.
Now's the time.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And interest rates are going to start to drop, including in Europe. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. And if you're an EU national, you can get a loan, even an investment loan for real estate. I'd like to pay cash if I have the opportunity to do it, but Anyway, just a thought.
Starland, I'm afraid, no, I don't. John, you told a story about Greece and cats last week, and I already forgot what it was.
Yeah,
Ed, do you remember? I don't remember.
There are no rats in Athens because there are, 150,000 cats or whatever it is, 1 million cats. I don't know. And tourists love the cats. They'll come up to your table at a restaurant, and you give them a little smelt or a shrimp or whatever, and they purr and brush up against you. But as a result, there are no rats in Greece. It's just a completely alien thought to think that, you sit down at a restaurant, you see a rat run across the pavement. And here in Washington, we're second only to New York in the fact. You remember when we were kids, Ted, the movies Willard and Ben?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're living it now.
Yo, that's true.
The places are overrun with rats, and I mean they're big. I saw one the other day. I'm telling you, without any exaggeration, this thing was the size of a small dog. Never in my life, ever, have I seen a rat this big. I'll tell you another thing real quickly, and then I'll move on. I was having trouble sleeping the other night because I'm old, and I guess this is like life from now on. So it's 1:00 in the morning. I'm sitting in my chair right over here watching TV. And my phone rings, and it's a friend of my father's. So I answered the phone, and I said, Jim, are you okay? 1:00 in the morning. Jim, I said, are you okay? He said, no, my son is stranded in Washington, D.C. with a buddy of his. They went into this 7-Eleven, and somebody got into their van and stole the van, took everything. Their luggage was in the back, their passports, their laptops, everything. They have nothing. I said, okay, no problem. I'll pick them up. Where are they? He gave me an address. I said, what in the world are they doing in that part of town? Like, I wouldn't go to that part of town in the daytime. Well, because they're idiots, and they went on hotels.com, and it was the cheapest hotel. I said, yeah, well, it's the reason it's the cheapest hotel. I said, tell them I'll be there in 30 minutes. I'll pick them up. So I speed over to Southeast Washington. I get there. Finally, it was about 1:45 in the morning.
Oof. Better you than me.
They're both 18 years old, and they're panicked. And I thought they were panicked because they just had all their shit stolen. They're in a terrible part of town. That was not why they were panicked. They were panicked because while they were waiting for me, they noticed a homeless guy sleeping on the ground, and rats were eating his toes.
No way.
I said, yeah. I said, welcome to Washington. We are rat central these days. And I don't know why nobody wants to do anything about it. And they were like, we never saw anything like that in our lives. Oh, I never want to come back here. I was like, well, yeah, exactly.
So I went to, when I went to college, I was expelled after my junior year.
What? Why?
It's true. Well, when you interview me, I'll tell you.
Okay.
It was kind of over a wart. But I think I told you about the wart story. But I was expelled. And so I moved in with two other guys who'd both been expelled at the same time. And we lived together. We had adventures, 2.5 years. Anyway, when it all went sideways, two of us, we each had girlfriends. We moved in with our girlfriends. And then the third one, Chris, he moved out to Jersey City. And he moved into this dump and he said, and I was like, how's it going? I talked to him on the phone. He goes, it's not good. At night, the rats run over me. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, there's the place is full of giant rats. And when a New Yorker tells you giant rats, that doesn't mean like this, right? It means big. And so he goes, yeah, they run across me and they bite me at night while I'm sleeping. And I'm like, what? I would leave. I'd be sleeping outside before I did this. I'm like, well, you got to do something. He's like, what do? I don't know what to do. And so he said he was at one point going through 30 glue traps a day with
a day.
I mean, that's a lot of rats. So I was like, dude, you got to go down you got to go down to the pound and get like 3 big tomcats. And, my mom taught me that like the best mousers have the longest tails. And she's like, so it's like, look for a cat with a long tail because they jump more, right? The tail is like, it gives them that balance. Like monkeys have a long tail, like tigers, any animal that can jump far. Better jumping, better mousing. So anyway, he followed my advice and Then he died on 9/11, but that's a whole different story.
Oh, but, my God.
Yeah.
What a story.
I know, but I always thought about the biting. It's like, I mean, that's a horror show. I mean, John, I had a job in freshman year on the docks as a part-time longshoreman. And for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks is basically the hazing period. And they're like, okay, so you have to prove yourself. So I think you'll like this story. So my boss, he's like, today go out, here's a bag. We poison all the rats, and the wharf rats are massive. They're
giant
cats. But they poison them and then go pick up the dead ones and throw them in the bag. I'm like, all right. So I go out there, I pick them up by the tail.
Ted.
Drop them into the bag. There's hundreds of them. And I picked up one and it wasn't dead. It whipped around and bit me like right in the small of my arm.
What
right here. It sunk its teeth in and would not let go. And of course, as you can imagine, I'm screaming. I'm all by myself. I got to solve this problem myself. So I bashed it against a pylon until it let go. And I was bleeding like all over the place. I go to the office and the guy's like, Teddy, you can go ahead and go home early. And something told me that wouldn't be a good idea. So I just like, okay, I'm like, no, I'm good. Just like, let me just wrap myself up. I'll finish my shift. And I really did need the money. I was a scholarship kid, at the second most expensive college in the country. And I was about to lose all my financial aid due to the Reagan budget cuts. So I needed that money. So anyway, the point is I bound myself up. And so the next day when I came back to work, my boss goes, if you'd agreed to go home early, I would have never let you come back. And I'm like, you're a real charmer. But
Ted, you must have gone to the hospital.
I did. No, I couldn't afford it. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
I was always worried that I might, for like weeks, I was like, what if I got rabies or
right.
No,
whatever rats carry. They carry all kinds of stuff.
No, this is one of the many reasons that I'm for socialized healthcare. You should be able, as a human being, to walk into a clinic and get that taken care of. It would have cost hundreds of dollars back in the early 80s. There was no way. I didn't have it.
Yeah, healthcare is a human right. I'm 100% with you. Healthcare is a human right. It should be free for everybody.
And man, so for me, when I think of rats, I always think of that. And, it was a tough job. The test was that you had to carry a 200-pound bag, 200 yards. They didn't care how. On your shoulders, in front of you. On your shoulders was the best way. That's how I did it.
Yeah, it's the best way.
But it was like, that's a lot of weight. I only weighed like 160 at the time. So, it was not easy. But the pay was insane. So it was good. It had to be.
It needed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like
exactly right.
It was $50 an hour cash. No. Yeah. And you went home. And the terrifying thing is you'd go home after a 12-hour shift with $600 in your pocket, on the New York City subway in 1981.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You're a walking bank.
Yeah. Where's Bernie Getz when you need him?
Totally. No, I was really wanted a gun, but couldn't get one. Anyway, so with that, speaking of gunfire, so we should talk about this remote junction shooting. So two Palestinians from the West Bank shot and killed 6 Israelis who were waiting for the bus at remote junction. How this is covered depends on the political leaning of the press organization, but basically some are saying calling it Jerusalem, but the truth is it's really occupied territory, right? It's in East,
they keep saying Jerusalem, but it's in a Jewish settlement in East Jerusalem,
which is the West Bank. It's the occupied West Bank,
which is the West Bank, correct? Yep.
So Emmanuel Macron, again in the news here on DeProgram. And by the way, please like, follow, and share the show. We didn't do the proper intros this time, but thank you very much for your support and all that.
And thank you to Chrism ZTC. with a question we can get to in a second, but thank you very much for the $5.
Yes, thank you indeed. So, yeah, I mean, so the thing is, what do we do? So Macron is saying this is another reminder of why we need to put an end to the violence, and this is all related to the Gaza war. I got to say, what was notable to me was I can't imagine a year ago that any politician as mainstream as Emmanuel Macron would ever have been able to say something like this following a terrorist attack, that it was anything other than just a cruel, horrible event that shouldn't have happened, and never to tie it into the Palestinian cause. That's a big change.
Yeah, I think it is too. You're going to see, the predictable coverage in places like the New York Post, or even the more mainstream media like the Washington Post, the New York Times, even the LA Times. But I was surprised that Macron came out and said what he said. Yeah, I'm a little bit torn over this because if we're going to be opposed to attacks on civilians, then we got to be opposed to attacks on civilians. At the same time, if my land were occupied and my house was taken over by some strangers from New Jersey who just came and said, you leave now, this is our house.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I would probably do what these guys did. They were both shot and killed on the scene. And the Israelis, said the predictable things. Netanyahu went to the site of the shooting and gave a speech. But you're right. The bottom line here is we all have to work together to not just end this conflict, but to try to protect Palestinian human rights, because the Israeli government isn't going to do it.
And I don't think the Israeli government really cares that much about the safety and security of the Israeli people.
I think that's right.
Angela, thank you so much for the donation.
Thank you, Angela.
But do you want to answer Chrism TC?
Yeah. Andrew Bustamante. So Andrew recently came out with a book in which he single-handedly, brought down some mole. Funny that we never saw any reporting about any mole in the CIA, but he claims to have brought down a mole. He also went on the Julian Dory podcast and he waterboarded Julian incorrectly, I might add. And I called Julian. I was like, dude, what are you doing? You did it wrong. And Bustamante's got his hair pulled back. Anyway, so he came out with this book last week, and he says that he took down this mole. And then he says that he waterboarded people when he was at the agency. I don't think any of this is true. Andrew Bustamante was a targeting analyst, just like his wife. They're both targeting analysts. And as a targeting analyst, your job is to go through thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of pieces of data to try to discern the location of a target so that either your special activities people can go kill him or kidnap him, or your operations people can go try to recruit him, right? Bustamante was not a case officer. He was not an operations officer. He was what's called a SOO, a special operations officer. Most of the SOOs couldn't make it through operational training. I don't know why he was a SOO, but most of them just could not cut the ops training. A SOO then serves as an assistant to the operations people. So if I was going to go do a particularly dangerous meeting, I would say, hey, Andrew, put together a surveillance team and a counter surveillance team. I have this meeting. I'm going to do my surveillance detection route kickoff at 6:00. The meeting's at 9. Make sure I don't get shot. Or at the end of a particularly long night, I'd say, Andrew, or whoever the SOO was assigned to me, I'm tired. I got to do another surveillance detection route. When you get back to the embassy, do me a favor and do my accounting paperwork. But running around the world catching moles and then randomly flying out to secret sites to waterboard people, No. One thing he's very good at is what at the agency we used to call SSP, shameless self-promotion. We were taught early on, you have to relentlessly promote yourself as a Superman because everybody else is promoting himself as a Superman, and you're competing against these people in the promotion panels. One thing he's good at is coming across as Superman. And if you're outside the agency and you're doing it, then it's easy because there's no way anybody can check your bona fides. All you have to do is say, take my word for it. It's classified. And then that's it.
I'm gonna spontaneously pop Robbie in because Robbie has something to say. He wants to just remind people to follow us over on Rumble and why. And I think it's frankly just faster to just have Robbie do it. So Robbie, sorry about this, but not sorry. Go ahead.
Howdy. No, it's pretty doggone mercenary and capitalist. Rumble pays us more.
Yeah.
And so if y'all go over to Rumble, if y'all follow there, Rumble actually pays John and Ted based on watch hours and not just the pennies that YouTube call pays. So if you just go over there, watch them, just watch the show over there, they get paid more. And we got to help John get that house in Greece. So let's do it.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. I know, like my plan to move to France is not looking as exciting as one of the chatters pointed out. But, whatever. France will, as long as the wine is good and the food is good, which will always be true, everything will be fine. So let's, do we want to move over to, LA? Oh, we are ready for an ad, Robbie. Go ahead and put it up when you're ready.
Yeah, we should do an ad. Yeah.
Okay. So LA, the Supreme Court has overruled the district judge. Basically, the district judge said you guys are ethnically profiling, which by ICE's own account they are, and basically there are unconstitutional roving patrols, sort of basically going to car washes and Home Depot. And anyone who looks Latino, a little bit taupe, sound Spanish. They get questioned about, hey, are you here? Do you have papers that, prove that you're legal to be here? Well, the Supreme Court just basically said they overturned the lower court decision, but without comment. And so basically there's no decision. That to me indicates that this tends to be for political reasons, right?
Yeah.
John, while you're chewing on that one, let me read the ad. Here we go.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's political.
You've probably noticed Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium. Easy way to upgrade your experience with Premium. You get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions. Just the content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scene drops, and more from your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code studio at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium. Promo code studio. No ads, more freedom, and content you actually care about. That's the deal. And you can also do it for $5, but you'll just be watching us for just one show, and you wouldn't see the other stuff. Anyway, so LA, look, I think it's pretty disgusting. We've talked about this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again. When you're driving on a freeway near the Mexico border, or I guess this would be true also anywhere in Southern California, you may well come upon a police checkpoint where there's orange cones and there's uniformed officers who slow you down, eyeball you, and if they see faces that look like yours or mine, they wave us past.
You're good to go.
But if you are Latino looking in their minds, then they pull you over and harass you. And I don't think that if that's constitutional or if that's legal, it ought not to be. It should be made illegal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And to tell you the truth, Ted, I thought it was illegal.
I thought it was too.
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's state laws that prohibit cops from doing it? I don't know. But it should be. It should be illegal.
I thought ethnic profiling violated the Fourth Amendment's right against unlawful search and seizure because there's no just cause.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I would. And another thing too is that, and this is scary. I heard just over the weekend that people here in DC have begun.
It's a violation of the 14th Amendment, not the 4th.
I thought it was illegal.
The Equal Protection Clause.
There it is. Here in DC, people have begun carrying their passports just because they're afraid of being scooped up.
Yeah.
There was a story about a violinist for the Salt Lake City Symphony. He was grabbed and held for 3 weeks. The guy's an American. He was grabbed and held for 3 weeks just because they know they can get away with it. Assholes. So I don't know. Seriously.
We have a question from the YouTube feed from Jace. Thoughts on Barry Weiss cashing in with CBS?
Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that had happened. I'll check it out. Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't know anything.
Sorry, Jace.
All right, well,
check it out.
We'll have to that part of deprogramming. We'll have to await tomorrow's show.
Yeah,
we'll look into that.
And, definitely.
And I guess the last big story of the day, unless something breaks in the next 10 minutes, is the school prayer thing. So it's not like there's ever been a prohibition against practicing your religion in school. You've always been allowed to pray. I was always surprised. I only went to public schools, K through 12. Mm-hmm. I was always surprised that that prayer groups were allowed on campus as an after-school activity. Totally okay to do that. But Trump wants to go further, and he wants to promote prayer in public schools. He says there's too much anti-religious propaganda in schools. Obviously, we have separation of church and state, so therefore you can't have state-sponsored prayer in schools. John, the part that I want to talk to you about, and you're a man of faith, isn't it, what's fucked up and weird to me is less the fact that Trump wants to do this than the fact that he himself is so brazenly not religious.
Not religious in any way.
He doesn't go to church.
No.
He doesn't have a spiritual advisor. Like many presidents had Billy Graham meet with them personally.
Many, yes.
It's like he doesn't talk about scripture. He can't reference it. He doesn't know. Remember, he was asked, name a line from the Bible, one line from the Bible.
Yeah.
Couldn't even do Jesus wept, right? Couldn't do anything.
Literally the shortest verse in the entire Bible.
Couldn't do one.
And Jesus wept.
Right. And so, he doesn't know he's not a religious man. Nothing wrong with not being a religious man.
No.
Beautiful thing. Many Americans are not religious. But isn't it weird for people who are Christian to think this? To see this? How does he get away with it with his people? I know the whole God works in mysterious ways argument, and that some evangelicals think that Trump is doing God's bidding, even though he's balls deep in Stormy Daniels. I don't know. I don't get it. Can you explain this to me at all?
I think that he thinks that most Christians are suckers. I hate to be cynical like that, but I believe this. He thinks most Christians are suckers. You remember when he walked out of the White House, there's this near riot situation. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff goes out with him, and he goes to St. John's Church, which is directly across the street from the White House, where every president since James Madison has gone to services. And what's he do? He holds up a Bible. He
upside down, right?
Holds it up. Yeah, upside down. Later, he autographed it, right? And then on Fox, they started selling autographs.
Only God should be allowed to autograph the Bible.
Yeah.
Or his kid.
But I think that it's an easy and cheap way to just rile up Christians who are predisposed to support him anyhow. And he realizes, they're all suckers. I'm just going to keep doing this. I really believe that.
I can't argue with that at all. That sounds right to me. But I mean, Christians aren't stupid people.
No,
they're no stupider than anyone else anyway. So, I mean, how is it that, I mean, they know what's going on. They know about the grift. I mean, by the way, thank you, MW Knox 186 for the donation. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Right. I mean, Christians they know, don't they? Why don't they hate him for this?
I would be so furious over the thought that I had been used as a political prop that I would be furious. I don't understand how he's able to get away with this.
John, this is more for you than for me, I'm sure. Bees wants to know, can you speak to the intelligence community's role in making Western capital markets accessible to sanctioned groups via shadow banking? It's complicated.
That's a good question. And I think a lot of it is probably still classified, but think of it this way. Not only do the interests of the CIA sometimes diverge from the greater national interests of the United States, but they frequently diverge. I say all the time in that wonderful Netflix series Narcos, just as the DEA guys are going to swoop in and get Pablo Escobar or whatever, the CIA station chief throws up. Yeah, the CIA station chief shows up and just screws the whole thing up. Well, the reason that's in the series is because that's how it is in real life. The CIA doesn't really care what the law is, even what U.S. law is. And oftentimes the people that they're dealing with or the governments that they're dealing with that are friendly to the CIA are actually hostile to the State Department, to the White House, to U.S. foreign policy. And so the CIA will arrange backdoor banking, backdoor investment, backdoor loans just to keep these outlaws going. So oftentimes the CIA is doing something that is both illegal and antithetical to American foreign policy. Somebody also asked at the very beginning, and maybe it was Starlion, at the very beginning of the show about the role of astrology. Has astrology ever played a role in the CIA's work? And the answer is yes. It did in the 1950s into the early 1960s as a part of that overarching MK Ultra program. Like every bit of craziness that you can come up with that had the MK Ultra label attached to it, they tried.
That's insane.
Everything.
Yeah, wait.
Time travel, teleportation,
LSD,
all of it, because they were panicked at the idea that the Russians were doing it too, and they were ahead of us.
It's a little, I mean, is there any link at all between that and the fact that just a decade earlier, the Nazis were also interested in the occult?
Yeah, there is a link. Because all these people in positions of authority where they don't have to report back to the public and they have unlimited or virtually unlimited budgets think, you know what? There's probably nothing to it, but just in case there is, and it'll make me a star if it leaks out.
My father told me about the wackiest classified story. He had told me about a bunch of them, but I'm sure this is no longer classified because it's so old. But apparently, John, maybe you know about this, but apparently the Air Force was interested in insect mutations, and as part of Cold War, and they wanted to see if they could make bugs like houseflies, giant sized. And the plan was to like drop 10-inch houseflies on the Soviet Union. And I was like, so what exactly did they think would happen? And he said, well, we hadn't thought it through that much.
See?
And basically we thought that like, and I'm like, so what? So if we drop the 10-inch houseflies on the Russians, then nobody goes outside anymore and our troops can just march into Moscow? And he's like, maybe, I don't know. And he's like, I'm like, why wouldn't the Russians just go out with bats and tennis rackets and have a great time? Also, what's going to stop these flies from coming to the United States?
Exactly.
I don't know. And so he said, he claimed that they actually had some success because insects, they have very short lifespans, so you can have thousands of generations in a very short time.
Yes.
And he said the problem, of course, was he could get them to be pretty big, but they would hatch and immediately collapse upon themselves because the exoskeleton wasn't meant to scale up to that size. And so basically they would hatch and collapse in a chewy gelatinous mass. And I'm like, is there video? And he was like, there's film. I'm like, I want to see it. But
oh my
God, like, your tax dollars.
What kind of people are we? Oh my God.
Idiots. Meanwhile, people literally, I couldn't go to the doctor for my rat bite.
Yeah.
But that's where our money is going.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Your little dialectical boo on Rumble is saying, I remember that they tried to put an antenna in a house cat. And don't forget, the Russians had a spy beluga.
The spy beluga actually transmitted data back to them.
And there's spy dolphins and porpoises, right?
Yeah, that's right. And pigeons. We trained pigeons for years to land on the windowsills of the Soviet embassy here in Washington, just to pick up vibrations from it. That was the problem. They land on the windowsill and they're cooing, and it screws up the sound.
And then there's the Havana syndrome, right? Probably.
Yeah. Oh my God. I curse whoever implemented Havana syndrome, because my phone rings off the freaking hook from people who have Havana syndrome. And, for so long I thought, well, it's probably just a nut, until friends of mine started getting it. And now I have to be, I'm actually a believer in Havana syndrome.
So you think this was a Cuban or whatever attempt to,
or American or Chinese? Yeah. I don't think it was the Cubans. Yeah, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because when the story,
they denied it,
when the story first broke, I was in Cuba. I happened to be in Cuba. And the Cubans made a huge production out of saying, we will open the books, we will open the files, we'll work with the Americans and give them everything that they ask for. And that just told me that, no, this isn't
Wells
the Cubans.
Campbell on YouTube is reminding us, wasn't Nancy Reagan influenced into the war on drugs by an astrologist?
Yes, very much so.
By the way, speaking of astrology, we now learn that due to the rotation of the Earth, we know that actually, all of our signs are off by about one sign from when they were conceived 2,000 years ago. So, I think I'm a Virgo, but actually I'm a Leo.
Oh my God.
So that's probably what went wrong with Nancy Reagan and the war on drugs. The astrologer was just off by roughly 9%.
Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what, today is an unusually clear day. There's not much humidity. It's going to be clear all night. It also happens to be one day after the brightest orange moon of the year. So I'm going to go out there with my telescope.
Why is it
camera.
orange?
It's just the position of the sun behind the Earth. If you're on the East Coast and it's nighttime, it's just one of those things. It happens once a year, and so here it is. So in China, I think it's in China. There's a lunar eclipse last night, or was a lunar eclipse last night. So I'm going to try and get some pictures tonight.
All right, sounds good. For people who aren't familiar, John, you have a what do we call this? Astronomical photography?
I do. Yeah. Astronomical photography. I've been putting them on Facebook as I do them,
and they're good,
getting better and better. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's time consuming.
I always look at them.
Thanks very much.
So you have to do long exposures, right?
Yeah, long exposure. Yeah. And for people who know me personally, they know that I have an utterly irrational fear of mosquitoes. And so it's hard for me to sit out there at night for 2 hours dealing with mosquitoes. I freaking hate it. But, we all have our cross to bear.
That's really funny. Yeah.
One other thing.
Yeah,
the night that we captured Abu Zubaydah, there were mosquitoes all over the hospital, and I was freaked out by them because I couldn't take the chloroquine because it gave me such terrible nightmares. So I just stopped taking the chloroquine, which prevents malaria once the malarial mosquito bites you. So I'm just taking my chances with the mosquito. I go into Abu Zubaydah's room to wait for him to come out of surgery, and it's like a cloud of mosquitoes in there. I'm like, great. So I put the ceiling fan on high blast, and this was March. It was a little bit cold, you know? So I'm sitting there like this, I'm freezing, and this FBI agent comes in. He goes, dude, it's freezing in here. What are you doing? I said, I would rather freeze to death than be bitten by a Pakistani mosquito.
Oh, I agree with you.
Not going to happen tonight.
By the way, I assume you know this following factoid, right? But mosquitoes will not fly if it's over 64 degrees.
I did not know that. And it's going to be in the high 50s tonight. Okay.
So you're safe.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome. And with that, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Today's Monday, September 8th. Tomorrow, we'll be back Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern time, as we are Monday through Friday, here on DeProgram with me, Ted Rall, and John Kiriakou. And we appreciate your donations. Please like, follow, and share the show. As producer Robbie indicated, it is best for us if you can watch us on Rumble. So what a lot of people are doing who aren't really that excited about Rumble is they watch us sort of simultaneously. They just have the Rumble run in the background and they watch us on YouTube. That works, you know.
It works. We're actually able to make a go of this thanks to you guys watching on Rumble. It's that important. Thank you.
Star Lion is saying astrology still works, ignoring the constellations because it's really more about the seasons or something Earth related and not star related. All right. Okay. The lunar movements. I mean, obviously, it affects tides and all that. That has to affect things. And cops swear by the idea of the full moon stuff.
Yeah.
So more crime, more weirdness during full moons. I think it's just because you can see better, and weirdos don't need a flashlight. But what do I know? All right, guys. Anyway, oh my God, what am I doing here? Why do I not have this? Okay. All right. There we go.
Great. Thank you.